me again. Today in this video, I'm going to be making the Airfix FW190a-8 in 1/72nd scale. It was first introduced in August 1941. It retired in May 1945, but in May 1949 for France. Its primary users was the Luftwaffe, Hungarian Air Force, French Air Force, and the Turkish Air Force. It was produced between 1941 and 1945, and over 200,000 were built. So, let's get on to the video. Inside the box are the Humbrol acrylic paints, the poly cement, a paintbrush, which is also made by Humbrol, and the actual screws itself. First off, I washed the paint in soapy water so that the residue from the molding process would be gone, and the paint would actually stick on the model. You can see me testing out the fit of this pilot seat, and I'll do this for the whole model because it's very important that you do. After that was done, I started making the fuselage and the wings, which were easy enough. Well, it was all easy because it's plastic and not cardboard. I painted the inside of the fuselage where the cockpit was going to be so that I wouldn't have any problems painting it later. As you can see, I am using tweezers on some of the smaller and harder reach spots, so I do recommend you do that too if you're gonna plan on making this. This part was a little too tight, so I shaved off a little bit of it off the end, and then it fit perfectly. After the fuselage was done, I started cutting out the wings with my sprue cutter. I punched out these holes on the bottom of the wings so that I could attach the drop tanks later, and I did it with my old compass because I don't have a pin vise. After gluing the top and bottom part of the wings, I tested out the fit on the fuselage to see if it would fit. After that, I glued on a few more details, and then I glued on the wings, and voila! The fuselage and wings are done. When the fuselage was done, I got on to painting the model, which was oddly satisfying, I can say. I painted the model with thin coats of Humbrol acrylic, which made the brush strokes invisible, actually, and it really helped the paint hold onto the thing. Was the point when I found out that I painted all the colors wrong, so I had to repaint it. After all those successes and dilemmas, I painted on the wrong color again for the camouflage, which I then had to repaint again. I traced all of the panel lines with a pencil and rubbed it with a cotton swab after, so that I could simulate this sort of pre-shaded effect. After touching up some of the paint details, I began making the propeller and the engine. Before actually putting it together, I painted the pieces first. After the paint dried, I glued it all together. After the engine was done, I glued it into the nose of the fuselage. After all of that, I started making the landing gear, which was actually pretty cool because the wheels had this flattened effect because, I don't know, Airfix did that. While I waited for the paint to dry, I touched up some areas where I didn't put the pre-shading effect on. After that, I glued in the landing gear, which was pretty much it for the entire plane, except for the drop tanks and, you know. After all of that, I made the drop tanks and the thing that actually drops the fuel tank and stuff. While waiting for the drop tank to dry, I painted the canopy and glued it on. After gluing in the drop tank, I applied all of the decals, which were actually really satisfying. After that, that's it. That's all of the model. It's basically done now. After all of that, I could finally call it done. After doing some touch-ups and weathering, I really finalized the model, and it looks really good. And I hope you guys like this video. So, it's time for me to go. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.